So, our fourth speaker, I know you guys are excited about her. Our fourth speaker is Saras Dewi. Applause, people. Everybody is drinking tonight, right? Alright, so Saras is an Indonesian academic, activist, and poet. She is a lecturer at the State University of Indonesia, teaching on themes namely ecofeminism, ecological philosophy, Eastern philosophy, philosophy of literature, and phenomenology. That's a really difficult word, last one. Saras Dewi is also an environmental and women activist, involving in advocacy such as Benua Bay conservation in Bali, and she's also fighting alongside the women farmers of Kendeng Mountain in central Java in preserving their wilderness. The Dying Art of Philosophizing, is that how you pronounce it? Is the title of her company. Oh, wow, standard.
Sorry.
But here it is, Saras Dewi.
Okay. Hi everybody, good evening. Such a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy to see you all, and I want to tell you a little story, actually a love story of mine with philosophy. My first philosophy book was the Bhagavad Gita. I remember my grandfather taught me great ideas about justice, about duty, about what's the truth. And he taught me this conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, and I was hooked. I was hooked for life. And my grandfather was a very patient person, and I asked plenty of questions. I said, well, grandfather, what is the meaning of dharma? What is the meaning of karma? And why Arjuna resorted into war? My grandfather would always answer my question in a dialectical way, meaning he would never give me a simple answer, because he wanted me to use my own mind independently to pursue the truth. That is how I was raised by my grandfather, and he was a teacher, he was a great guy. And he loved dialogue and even a little banter, and I was a headstrong kid, and he just enjoyed deeply conversation with me. Back then, it was uncommon in my village that women go to pursue higher education, but my heart, it was already set for studying philosophy. And I remember that time that there's this expectation from society that women must assume certain roles, and women are constricted to limited roles, and I felt like suffocated. I wanted to break out and chase my dreams, and I was unsure in the beginning, but I left home, I left Bali, I left my whole family, and then I studied philosophy. I was determined to study philosophy, and my time studying philosophy was eye-opening. It widened my horizon. I studied great literature, great philosopher, such as Simone de Beauvoir, Martin Heidegger, like Maurice Merleau-Ponty, Confucius, Ramanuja. I learned about different methods. I learned about sciences, all sorts of sciences, and it was such a time for me, and I felt like I'm living my dream. But every time I talk to people have this very judgmental, and people are very mean. Every time they think about philosopher, they always think about this guy, you know, a very old, male, bearded, right? Bearded person. And I really wanted to change people's mind, and I want them to know that philosophy is very interesting, it's fun. So I got graduated from my doctoral study, got invited by the university, by the Department of Philosophy to teach, and then not long after I became one of the youngest head of undergraduate philosophy study. During that time, I strive to change people's perception about philosophy. I want to say that philosophy is all about being critical and skeptical, and I think we should be critical in this time of need because climate crisis is so worrying. We should be critical about racism, we should be critical about poverty, but also philosophy is about contemplation and finding inner peace and finding the happiness in your life. And that's what philosophy means to me. I experience hardship just because I'm a woman. I experience discrimination because I'm a woman. But that builds my character. And I find strength in philosophy. By learning feminism, I actually understood finally that us girls, we are free, right? We are free to choose the life that we want, and we can have ambitions and aspirations, and we should have equal opportunities. And also by learning feminism, I also realized it's not enough that I free myself, but because also feminism is a social movement, it's a solidarity, it is a sisterhood towards a better humanity, it's a cooperation, so we can create this new society that there's no injustice, there's no hatred, there's no discrimination. That's my dream. That should be our dream. Thank you. When I wrote my book, Eco-Phenomenology, it was greatly inspired by my time with my grandfather, just strolling around Sanur and philosophizing about life. But I have this fear inside my heart that philosophy is dying because people are so infatuated with this fast life and very shallow and empty materialism and absorbed in anger and hatred. And I also very dreadful about the looming climate crisis because of our unsustainable living. And my village here in Bali, they are clutching into their traditions and values to save this delicate balance, and the threat is real in Bali because of the modernization, industrialization. What people don't understand, actually, there is no humanity without nature, and there is nothing outside nature. The same thing goes into philosophy. Even the content of our consciousness, our sense of loving, sense of caring, those emotions are made possible because of we are surrounded with the nature. But I'm still very hopeful, and I'm still practicing my art of philosophy. As the great philosopher Immanuel Kant once said, have the courage to use your own mind. And I think now is the critical time for us to use our own mind and to practice compassion. Thank you.
That was a really great talk. Anyone has a question?
Well, thanks for your talk. It's awesome. I'm a philosopher too. And
you're in philosophy. Wow, there's two philosophers here.
There's more. Right?
Yeah.
So my question stuff, which is great, but you regarding tech and the future of humans, right? Because as it means to be humans. People like Elon Musk with Neuralink, for example, want to have humanity in symbiosis with artificial intelligence. So what do you think of that? So how would you define what it means to be human? And because you mentioned nature as well, and how would you reply to that?
Very hard question. Yes, sir. Thank you. And I feel technology is a part of us defining our identity and humanity, but, and I quote in my book, Eco-Phenomenology, I said, we have to dare ourselves to imagine more that this technological system and society that we're having, this is not it. We have to create and innovate more technology that is more sustainable, that is creating this even tighter bond between human beings, not creating segregations and poverty. But that, I think that's the future. It starts with this concept that we are, through our mind, through our willingness and our will, that's possible. I think we should embrace technology, and we are seeing how technology actually tackling a lot of climate crisis problem, and it's helping humanity. That's my position.
Other question? At the back? Microphone? It's coming.
Hey, theologists in the house, you're not alone.
We're like your brother and sister,
There's
actually.
more weird people here.
Yeah.
Well, what's your perspective on environmental conservation here in Bali with Trihita Karana in place and with many people trying to really love nature and be one with nature? What's your perspective as a local, knowing how things are on the grassroots?
Well, I realized actually, I was raised that Trihita Karana is not only a separate knowledge being studied in a classroom or in the academia, but us Balinese, we live with Trihita Karana, the three causation of happiness, of palemahan, of nature, of pawangan, of people, and God, pariangan. And I see now how this problem could push us into a verge of distress. But I also am very hopeful by seeing how we are united as a society, as a community, to protect the last wilderness. And Benoa Bay is actually one of our signs of hope that people are fighting for the last wilderness of the bay. Of course, every day for 5 years, we are constantly living in a verge of crying and tears. That would be the symbol of how we are contesting ourselves with modernization and industrialization. But as I said, I'm very hopeful, and the sign how indigenous communities are moving into this important social movement and also influencing other social movements all around the world. I think that's Trihita Karana also.
One question over here.
Thank you. So, hi, thank you for your talk. In light of philosophy and in light of Bali, how do you feel about the changing psychology as some sectors of Bali become successful capitalists, and as some people are getting wealthier here amongst the Balinese? How do you think there's a...
Thank you. And as I said earlier, also connected to the question about technology and how we are viewing ourselves and putting ourselves into this society that creating even larger classes. I think that's the problem, because in a way we should aim to be to create prosperity, not injustice. And I fear if we are going to continue business as usual in Bali with the stress happening to our water, to our land, we will be reaching that diminishing return. We will be walking into our own grave. And there's this point, as I said, this delicate balance of Trihita Karana that we have to maintain. And also in Bali, there's this philosophy of mulat sarir, of realizing one's mistake and the power to right the wrongs. And in Bali, I think we are in that crossroad of where are we going to turn right now. And I'm hoping that we are having mulat sarir, of realizing mistakes and rebuilding the collapsed society.
Thank you. So that was the last question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give an applause to Sarah.